43 billion rupees worth of electricity bills not paid. 100,000 gas cylinders to Litro, 10,000 gas cylinders to Love, but no reduction in gas queues. Schools across the country open for all students after 1.5 years. 164 dead in Kazakhstan amidst the oil crisis in the country.
Now let's take a look at those stories in detail. The Ceylon Electricity Board says there will be no power cuts during the day. The General Manager of the Ceylon Electricity Board, M.R. Ranatunga, told Newsfirst that adequate stocks of fuel to the last 5 days have been received as of now.
We
might not have to impose power cuts during January because the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has agreed to provide us the required fuel. The reason why we had to depend on fuel is due to the loss of 300 megawatts of power from the Norochole power plant. Mostly there will not be a requirement to impose power cuts during the daytime. We have received stocks of fuel sufficient for 5 days now. If we can continue like this in the future, we can prevent any power cuts in the future. Meanwhile, the chairman of Public Utilities Commission, Janaka Ratnayaka, stated approval has been given to cut power effectively from today. He requested the general public to provide support to use electricity wisely. The Ceylon Electricity Board should pay the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation to obtain fuel. There has been a delay in providing the payment, and the main reason for that is 43 billion rupees have not been paid by the consumers to the Ceylon Electricity Board. As a result, buying power for CEB is reducing. As a result, all the consumers must pay the dues to prevent such matters from taking place.
Views were expressed in the political sphere regarding the electricity crisis.
I believe the Ceylon Electricity Board and the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation will resolve the issue between the two very soon. The issue there is concerning funds. Both are state institutions and therefore it is not relevant from where the funds are provided. Both the subject ministers have intervened in this manner and they will resolve it. There are issues with the importation of fuel as well. The main problem is the lack of funds. There is no need to hide this from the people. However, we are managing the situation. The Ministry of Finance has formulated a program to recover from this crisis by this coming April.
The Ministry of Energy says that a decision has been reached to resume operations at the Sapugaskanda oil refinery on the 26th of January.
Secretary to the Ministry of Energy, KDR Volga, stated that a shipment of crude oil is scheduled to reach Sri Lanka on the 23rd of this month, adding that accordingly steps will be taken to resume operations at the Sapugaskanda refinery. The Sapugaskanda oil refinery was temporarily closed on the 3rd of January due to difficulties faced in purchasing crude oil given the prevailing foreign exchange crisis in the country. However, the Ministry of Energy has assured that there will be no fuel shortage in the country despite the temporary closure of the Sapugaskanda refinery.
The governor of the central bank says that Sri Lanka is ready to make the payment for the international sovereign bonds, which are maturing on the 22nd of January.
In a tweet, Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwat Kabral alleges that the individuals who said that Sri Lanka will not be able to pay the ISBs are now screaming that we should not pay it. The CBSL governor's tweet read, quote, "The individuals who screamed that Sri Lanka wouldn't be able to pay the January 22nd ISP maturity are now screaming that we shouldn't pay it, and we are ready to make the payment," end quote. He further states that Sri Lanka's imports have increased in 2021 to $21.6 billion from $16.1 billion in 2020 and $19.9 billion in 2019.
What will happen to the economy of Sri Lanka after we pay the due international sovereign bonds for the month of January? Views were expressed regarding this matter at the Mawata program telecasted on Sirasa TV.
What should be our aim? Is it to repay the debt or save the country? If we do not have dollars to purchase oil, gas, fertilizer, medicines, the necessary equipment for industries and spare parts, by paying the loans you can save the country or make the country that you are paying the loan dues rich. There are two ways in which they will get rich. One is that they will get all the money that they lend. On the other hand, we will lose money. Also, this loan was obtained for a very profitable manner in the secondary market. Now, the CBSL is not issuing dollars to the country. All of those money will be paid to the loan dues. The more the loans are being paid, the worse the situation of the country will fall into. During the last 2 years, many countries refrained from paying the loans. Every year, a certain country refrains from paying the loans. It is a normal situation and it is possible. However, it is a crisis for the country, and the crisis is that we are falling from the ratings, as Mr. Sunil Hadunethi mentioned.
Should or should we not settle the international sovereign bonds due on the 18th of January? Stay tuned to Face the Nation tonight. Industry experts will be joining us to have an extensive discussion on the matter. Moving on to more local news, the Litro Gas says 100,000 gas cylinders have been released to the market to meet the daily requirement. The Laf Gas Company had said that 10,000 to 15,000 gas cylinders are being released to the market daily. Its chairman, WHK Wagapitia, said another shipment of 10,000 tons of gas is expected to reach the Hambantota port today.
Despite the statistics released by the gas companies, the queues to purchase gas have not reduced yet. Long queues were observed in several parts of the country today as well.
Taking a look at a headline-making story, the Ministry of Education says academic activities in schools will resume today as usual, with all students required to attend in person.
Secretary to the Education Ministry, Professor Kapila Pereira, said schools are resuming academic activities as usual today after November 2020, adding that students can meet their classmates all at once starting today. He noted that the Director General of Health Services granted the approval to resume school activities as usual. He urged the students to refrain from coming to school if they were ill or a contact of a COVID-19 patient. Our cameras captured these visuals in Kurunegala, where students were enthusiastically seen attending schools. Our reporter said that the attendance of children in schools in the Anuradhapura area was at a satisfactory level. The children were seen attending schools by adhering to health guidelines. This was the situation in schools in the Gaul district. Our correspondent noted, despite the showery conditions, the students are enthusiastically attending schools. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education says the examinations which were postponed last year will not be postponed again. Its secretary, Professor Kapila Pereira, said the Grade 5 scholarship examinations will be held on the 22nd of January. The GCE Advanced Level examination for the year 2021 is scheduled to be held between the 7th of February to 5th of March 2022. The GCE Ordinary Level examination for year 2021 is scheduled to be held between the 23rd of May to 1st of June 2022. However, the Ministry of Education noted a decision on the dates to conduct the Grade 5 scholarship, the GCE Advanced Level examination, the GCE Ordinary Level examination for the year 2021 has not been made yet. Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Professor Kapila Pereira, further noted future course of action will be taken considering the prevailing situation in the country.
Farmers in the Alahara farming community are protesting, demanding a solution to the fertilizer crisis. Farmers who should be in paddy fields have now taken matters to the streets.
The farmers attached to the Alahara farming community in Polonnaru were engaged in a protest today. They protest along the Dear Bedum Jamburevela to their cultivation lands. The farmers say their cultivation lands have been destroyed due to the lack of fertilizer. Despite many struggles, the farmers say a solution to the fertilizer crisis is beyond distant. The farmers point out that the prevailing shortage of fertilizer could result in low yield during the Maha season. The main livelihood of the farmers in Karagahavela Bandaravela is vegetable cultivation. Vegetables such as beans, tomatoes, bitter gourd, cabbages and batu are cultivated across 200 acres of farmland in the area. Vegetable cultivations have been severely affected as a result of the fertilizer shortage. Farmers say that compared to other seasons, sufficient amounts of harvest were not being reaped this Maha cultivation season.
අද කවුරු ඔය මොන තර්කේ ගොඩනගන්න ගියත් ආරිගයක් කියනවා. අද මේ තක්කාලි කොටු මේ කරවිල කොටු. මේ කරවිල කොටුවෙන් අඩුම තර මේ කරවිල කැලි 50ක් කැපෙන්න ඕනි කරවිල කොටු. කරවිල පැප්පායි කැපෙන්නේ. අද මේ ගොවියට පවයිල වලට රැටි වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ මොකද මේකට?
The farmers have invested in their cultivations after pawning their jewellery. They request compensation for the losses incurred.
The following views were made by several factions regarding the prevailing situation of the country.
The Ceylon Electricity Board made the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation a beggar. Therefore, it is very clear as to what the Rajapaksa regime has done to this country. They signed a deal to sell off the Yugadanavi power plant in the night, and the oil tanks in Trincomalee has been sold off to India. On one hand, they are selling national assets of our country to foreign entities through Selendiver. We are selling something on a daily basis. What will we have at the end? These brothers are not willing to step down as well. In the process of selling the country, they make sure that they loot the money as well. They are trying to drain this country of our resources and money. That is their goal.
Sri Lanka has become a country where ministers of other countries take safari tours in. Ministers from India, Singapore, China have visited Sri Lanka. Whose properties are they going to sell in the name of an economic recovery? Whose money is it? Whose land is it? Why did the people of this country vote for this government? Is it to build this country or to sell the country?
කාගේ දේපොළද කාට අයිති ධනයද කාගේ භූමියද මේ රටේ ජනතාව බලය දුන්නේ මේ රට හදන්නද එහෙමත් නැතිනම් මේ රට විකුණන්නද මං අහනවා මේ රටෙන්.
How can this country go forward if the president, the prime minister and the entire lot of the minister and MPs lie to the people of this country? Can we go forward like this? No, we can't.
දුවන්න බැහැ.
The Director General of Health Services made the following comments regarding adhering to health guidelines after the academic activities in schools commenced today.
Just because schools are opened, I don't think we can provide different types of health guidelines. What we have to say is that academic activities at schools must be carried out by adhering to current health guidelines without any disruptions. There are practical issues to maintain social distancing when students are gathered at the maximum level at schools. However, we encourage students to maintain social distancing at schools. The suitable measures according to schools should be established by the parents, teachers and by the educational authorities, because the primary objective is to bring back the school life of these children that was lost for 2 years and to prepare them for all the important examinations in the future. It is the responsibility of everyone to follow the health guidelines and conduct academic activities at schools.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison said today Australia must push through a rapidly growing Omicron outbreak as the country's total number of COVID-19 cases breached more than 1 million, more than half of them recorded in the past week alone. Taking a look at local news back again, the Ministry of Health says 85% of those aged above 16 years in the country have been fully vaccinated as of now. The State Minister of Production, Supply and Regulation of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasamana, said all the required stocks of vaccine to inoculate the eligible population have been brought to the country.
We have received close to every vaccine we need to combat the pandemic. We start the inoculation program on the 9th of January 2020. We are seeing its final stages now. We have brought 48 million doses of vaccines in total. In total, we have inoculated 16 million of the country's population.
When will the vaccination card be made mandatory?
We have given the first dose to 99% of the population. We have given the second dose to 85% of the population. 13.8 million of the population have been given 2 doses of the vaccine. 4.5 million have been given the booster dose. We can't be satisfied with the number of booster jabs given. Only 4.5 million have got the booster jab. Once we see progress on that front, we hope to make the vaccine card mandatory.
Will the government lose its two-thirds majority as a result of the prevailing crisis within the government? Journalists raised questions regarding the matter from State Minister of Transport, Dilum Amunugama.
How can
it be an issue for the government? After he ate hoppers and left the government, we were able to form a new party to obtain a two-thirds majority, appoint Mahinda Rajapaksa as the Prime Minister and Gotabaya Rajapaksa as the President. We do not need anyone to do anything else. The problem is there. Stay in the government. No, there is no issues about the two-thirds majority. We are a faction that ruled with an additional 1 seat. We do not need a two-thirds majority. Mark my words, just because they are a part of the two-thirds majority, we cannot be patient every time. They will finally leave us. This is a government that is not owned by someone. This is a government we assisted in forming. The current president is someone who we supported, and the current government is one which obtained a two-thirds majority with our assistance. We joined this government based on the request by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. We worked hand in hand with him and the Prime Minister, and as a party we have had discussions with Basil Rajapaksa, and we joined with them based on that. We don't let anyone make a decision about us on joining or leaving the government. It will be a decision that we will make.
In some news from the cricketing arena, the Zimbabwe national cricket team arrived in the island this morning to take part in a 3-match ODI series against Sri Lanka.
The touring party of Zimbabwe national cricket team, led by Craig Irvine, arrived this morning for a 3-match ODI series. The first match of the series will commence on the 16th of this month, while the second and the third ODIs will be played on the 18th and the 21st of January. The matches will be played as day and night encounters at the Pallekele International Cricket Stadium.
And that brings us to an end of this edition of Lunchtime News here on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Senitha Senanayake. Take care and stay safe.